Greetings and salutations, fellow cynics and scallywags. So I just was kind of browsing through some media content and related in relation to The Walking Dead because I was curious to see what the latest news was because I haven't really seen much, which honestly kind of surprises me, to be perfectly honest. AMC hasn't really been pushing that hype train for the back half of season 9, which I find kind of surprising. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't really been on social media much lately. Gaming has been taking over my time. But I know comicbook.com has a tendency to clickbait, I guess you can say. So obviously, the headline more than likely does not match what the article states, but I don't know. This headline kind of caught my eye, so I thought I would kind of read through it. So, from Cameron Bonomolo, I apologize if I've pronounced your name wrong, but let's see what it says here. So, Walking Dead Season 9 B will bring deviations and surprises. Well, it would pretty much have to with Rick and Carl completely out of the picture. I mean, it would be completely pointless to be going over the anything from the comic because let's face it, Rick and Carl are a huge part of the comic. So, but let's hear what has to be said here. Let's see. When The Walking Dead resumes its refreshed ninth season with new episodes in February, the series will offer up new threats as well as plentiful surprises for both comic book readers and show only viewers. As with every season of the show, there's a certain amount of stuff from the comic that we follow relatively faithfully, but really more in terms of orange cones in the story, is kind of how we think about it, showrunner Angela Kang told Deadline. Like, oh, here are these moments that we want to try to adapt, but a lot of times the routes that we take go into different directions. I guess you could say that, right? Such deviations include the season 8 death of Carl Grimes. We won't discuss that as of right now. I'm pretty sure I'll be doing a breakdown of the season 8 of The Walking Dead and why I think it's absolutely one of the worst seasons that could have come out in this show's history, but I digress. And the season 9 send off for his father, Rick Grimes, who will be spun off into his own trilogy of television movies away from the Mothership series, as well as the mid season departure of Hilltop leader Maggie. Of course, nothing was mentioned as to exactly what happened to Maggie, other than, oh, hey, Maggie went with Georgie. Um, I personally think that Jadis should have been the one to take Maggie on the helicopter, but that's none of my business. I've I think I've pretty much stated before my own opinion of the Rick Grimes trilogy of movies. But going further, the array of characters on the timeline that we're in are completely different, and so there are obviously going to be some deviations, Kang added. I mean, that's really nothing new. Honestly, that's what I liked about the previous seasons of the show. I mean, from seasons one, pardon me, from seasons one to six. I mean, I liked the structure that they had established. I mean, I'm not a purist when it comes to adaptations. As long as if you stay true to the characters, or at least give the canon comic characters some screen time and some worthy stories, which I think that is one thing that's really been pissing me off about the show, especially for the past couple of seasons, that I feel that certain comic characters are not getting have not gotten credit where credit's due. I'm sorry, but Tyrese was greatly underutilized, and I feel the same way about Abraham. I think Abraham was severely underutilized. I don't think he lived, as I don't get me wrong, I loved Michael Cudlett's his performance as Abraham was top notch. I love show Abraham. But it baffles me that there was so many moments that Abraham could have shined on the show and they never even touched upon that in the show as some of the stuff that he did in the comics, because in the comic he was a major badass. But he kind of got pushed aside in favor of the Rick and Daryl stuff. Let's just put it this way: Rick and Abraham had a much stronger connection in the comic, but again, I digress. Moving on. So there are some familiar market markers to people who know the comics very well, but I'll say that there are some surprises coming up along the way as well. Oh boy, I wonder what that could be. A fan of the Whisperer's plot thread from creator Robert Kirkman's comic books, Kang was mindful of spoilers but hinted the more iconic beats of the story could play out in the back half of the season. Um, Honestly, I don't know how to feel about 9B. I will get to that, I think, after I finish reading through this. I'll say that this is obviously an iconic storyline from the comic, and there's certainly memorable parts of the story that we want to tell, but it will be specific to the show, Kang said. Emerging as the newest headlining villain is Whisperer Lydia Alpha, Samantha Morton, who reaches the series accompanied by daughter Lydia and merciless right hand man Beta. I think on screen it is a pretty striking introduction, and then we will get into some meaty stuff with her pretty early in the back half of the season. Kang teased of the villainess, glimpsed in the first trailer of the second half of season 9. Honestly, if I had anything to look forward to in the second half of 9B, is to see how Samantha Morton portrays Alpha, because I've heard that, to my understanding, I have not seen Samantha Morton in really anything, but to my understanding, she's a very talented actress from the general consensus that I've been hearing. So I am curious to see how she can pull off the character. I just certainly hope that they wrote her well, because that's one thing that kind of frustrates me about the comic is that I don't think Alpha got. I don't think she. I think she was overly hyped and very underutilized. Like, I think she had massive potential as a villain. But I won't go into great details because that would obviously be getting into spoiler territory in the comics. So let's move on. I'll say that off screen, Samantha could not be a lovelier person to work with. We have truly enjoyed having Samantha, and I can't wait for people to see the work she's doing. I've been working on some of the episodes in post she's in, and I think she's a tremendous actress. There's some really cool stuff with her coming up. Kirkman, who serves as executive producer on the series, previously said changes from page to screen happens from time to time on the show, and such deviations just make the screenwriter more excited. I think that anytime that path is not set, anytime you can't look at a comic book series and go, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen, it makes things a little bit more exciting. Which I do. I have no objections to that. I'm perfectly okay with surprises. That's kind of why I don't like being a purist. I don't get that mentality of how everything from the source material has to translate exactly how it is in a show or TV show. Because honestly, what's the fun in that when you know exactly what's going to happen? But again, digressing. Kirkman said during a March appearance on Talking Dead. And dealing with those unknown when we're in the writer's room, when we're working on season 9, all those changes that kind of snowball out from that, it just makes for a better show. Uh, I don't know how to think about that. I don't know how to feel about that because sure, there are some changes that have worked on the show compared to the comic. Like, for instance, if anyone is not aware, in the episode The Grove, the whole storyline between Carol, Lizzie, and Mika is basically an adaptation of the storyline from Carl with Carl dealing with Billy and Ben. Ben ends up killing his twin brother Billy, and Carl is the one that has to put him down. See, and I thought that The Grove to me is one of the best episodes of the show's run. There is no doubt about that. And it's just a travesty that Melissa McBride did not get any kind of award nomination, not get an Emmy or a Golden Globe or anything like that. But again, that's a rant for another day, I suppose. Walking Dead Season 9 returns to AMC with new episodes Sunday, February 10th. So, yeah, honestly, I just don't know how to feel about 9B. I mean, I suppose I'm interested to see how the Whisperers storyline plays out, but it just would not feel right without Rick and Carl in the picture because those two had a massive part in the Whisperer storyline. But I mean, I will admit that I think there's certainly some aspects that they can improve upon in the comic. Like I said, I think they probably have the capability to make Alpha a much more sinister villain than she was in the comic. I mean, there is one scene in particular that I have no doubt is going to be coming up in 9B, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. Anyone who has read issue 144 will certainly understand what I am talking about. But like I said, I am curious to see how Samantha Morton tackles Alpha. I have no doubt that she'll do an incredible job with the character. And then, of course, Ryan Hurst's Beta, I think he was certainly perfectly cast in the role of Beta. Like I said, I have my reservations. But I mean, I certainly would not object if they completely deviate from the comic. That's actually what I'm hoping for because honestly, I can't accept the show as it is if it's still going to continue the source material. I mean, you really can't. It's like Rick's gone and Carl's gone. To me, the heart of the show, but apparently AMC had other plans. But they are the heart of the comic, and without them, it just doesn't seem right to continue going down the direction of adapting the comic. But I suppose we'll see how it goes. I'll more than likely be reviewing the back half of season 9. Like I said, I don't want to hate on this show. I really don't. I'm trying to keep a hopeful eye, but I still have yet to discuss what I thought about the episodes post Rick. And all I will say is that I was not very happy about it, to be perfectly honest. The only thing that's got my interest in the show at this point is to see how they're going to handle the Whisperers. So, but I thought I would give my thoughts on that. I'm currently in the process of working on my script for issue 186, which just came out today that I have read. So stay tuned for that. And I guess I will catch you guys later.